This right here is the all-new 2021 Genesis G80 mid-size luxury sedan. It really brings luxury and affordability all under one roof, theoretically speaking. And I think that is true for this model. As tested, this is $57,000, and that is including the base engine, 2.5 liter inline 4 turbo, with all-wheel drive and the advanced package. This could get a little pricier if you get the higher end engine, the 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo, and the Prestige package, but even then it stays below about $70,000, which I will argue is a bargain. It exceeded pretty much all of my expectations ever since the moment I saw it. When I knew I was going to be reviewing this, I was intrigued but not excited, and now my excitement has caught up. So let's talk about styling. The Genesis brand is starting to develop their own design language, their brand ethos. And that's notable in the grille as well as now these dual headlights. Yes, I promise there's a sedan behind this grille. It is a big grille, but it's bold and it's kind of audacious. It doesn't bother me near as much as some of the Lexus and Acura and other competition out there. Their grilles just kind of annoy me for some reason. This one is still a bit big, but it's just aggressive, it's intense. One downside is the radar on the front of the grille. That they tried to kind of blend it in, but it just didn't work too well. I almost wish they had put the Genesis badge on the radar, incorporated it in somehow, so that it looked like it had a better purpose than just radar. The GV80, the big brother to this, the SUV variant, actually has the radar on the lower grille, so it's kind of blending in better. So that's one downside to the front end, but otherwise I think it just looks nice. Even the wings of the Genesis badge kind of bring you to this elongated portion of the hood, like the Genesis badge is wedging a aerofoil into the hood. You of course have some parking sensors on the front, and let's talk about these dual headlights. It's actually kind of an accent that goes all the way around the car, and we'll get to the rest in a second, but it's dual LED daytime running light strips as well as the headlights and high beams on top and bottom. And there's even a little chrome accent at the very bottom, which has again another little split in it. It's like Genesis is just wanting duality in their design. Around to the side, you immediately notice these wheels. They're like spider webs. This is a 19-inch alloy option for Genesis on the advanced trim and higher, and I actually like them. I did not expect to say that. They're not like flashy chrome, they're kind of more of the muted matte finish chrome, and I think it works with the car. It's very interesting. The car is pretty simple, and the wheels add some complexity and almost ties in the diamond feel of the grille into the wheels themselves. And next to the wheel are these really interesting turn signals. It's almost like the headlights continue into the side of the car. And that is a really interesting touch. A lot of markets require these turn signals on the side of a car, and Genesis is embracing that and actually using it as part of their design. Instead of ugly turn signals in the mirror or like trying to slap it on somewhere as an afterthought, they literally just tied it in there, added some chrome, and just made it part of the feel of the car. Some cars may opt for vents on the side to give it some sort of aggressive nature, but Genesis has just embraced the turn signal. And at night on the highway, they are bright. I can see the whole left side of my car blinking orange when I use them. This line kind of slices through the whole car from the very front, along the hood, and just below the windows. They didn't actually use the windows for it. They just put this line below the windows, slicing through the fuel filler cap and into the back. Which, you also have this chrome element around the windows, which is fine. It kind of ties in the wheels, the grille, the top of the door handles. It's nice to see that it's not all chrome, and I think it works for the stately elegance that this car holds. But let's take a look at the back. Again, we have the duality continues. It continues in the form of these two LED brake lights slash tail lights slash reverse lights. I love it. It's just perfectly like symmetrical, top and bottom, and it's just another way to express the Genesis feel of the brand. That line on the side of the car kind of flows into this spoiler that's almost, it's like built into the car. It's not really a spoiler, it's just part of the design, and it kind of flows up and out, which is interesting because the designer of this car was really inspired by the Hanok, which is a traditional Korean house that has kind of the sloping, flaring roofs. And I didn't see too much of that in the car other than this very back end. You also have a nice clean Genesis badge, the G80, and the all-wheel drive designation. Above the Genesis badge, right along the edge of that kind of sloped out spoiler kind of thing, is the chrome accent with the backup camera integrated in. And not only is it the backup camera, but right above the camera is the hidden button for the trunk. I think that is super cool. They kind of, again, embraced a requirement of most cars, and rather than just putting an ugly little button somewhere, they hid that inside. Down below we have dual exhausts, and they are real. They just have kind of this flared opening. That's fine. At least they look good. And kind of between the exhausts is this interesting almost diffuser. It's like kind of a fake honeycomb diamond thing, which ties in with the front grille, I suppose. But overall, I am just really impressed with this car. I think the design is brilliant. It's kind of subdued, it's subtle, it doesn't grab too much attention, but that's okay. You just bought a piece of luxury and you don't care necessarily about drawing all the attention to yourself. You just wanted to dip into some of the fun. But let's take a closer look at this trunk. Use the special little button above the camera, which I did not see at first. And it is a good size. You actually have kind of a pass-through to get to the rest of the cabin. So you could keep like snacks in the very front of your trunk just so kids can get to it and reach from the inside. Or you can use that pass-through for something long like skis or lumber. You have these dual taillights, which incorporate the taillights, the brake lights, and the LED turn signals. And then way down here are the reverse lights down at the bottom. All right, let's go take a look under the hood. It's nice to see a pneumatic lift on the hood. You don't have to put up some old hood propper like you're some peasant. But this is the power plant. 2.5 liter inline 4 with a turbo, in case you didn't know by the giant turbo letters on the engine cover. This makes 300 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque, which I would argue is plenty capable. It is a heavy car, over 4,000 pounds, but it just seems to do better than I expected, if that makes sense. Even up here in the canyons, I've had plenty of power to get up the hill. I could say I'd wish for more power, but it doesn't feel underpowered. It feels like just enough for this car for most people. Even up here in the canyons at over 6,000 feet going uphill, the turbo seems to really do its job and make me feel like it's capable. You also have a 3.5 liter V6, which is twin turbo, and that makes 375 horsepower. That is the higher end engine for this car, and it would be the one I would choose. But I can't really hate on the base engine. It does way better than I expected. But it's quite a big engine bay. I'd love to see it with the 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo. That's the way I would option my car, but it does the trick. But enough talking about it, let me just show you how it does. Welcome to the interior of the Genesis G80. It is a nice place to be. Probably one of my top 5 interiors of all time. So the first thing you may notice when you get inside the Genesis G80 is how quiet it is. You probably won't know this from camera, but there is literally a windstorm happening outside, and I can see trees and dust and dirt flying everywhere. Not in here. In here it's perfectly fine, perfectly quiet. It's just so isolated. There's so much sound dampening that Genesis has used in this vehicle. Let's take a look at the materials, because that's one of the things you'll notice most when you're assessing the interior quality of a car. First of all, this wood is a gorgeous accent. It goes all along the dash and into the door panels and down in the center console. It all matches perfectly. It is a real wood, I think, but it's got kind of a matte finish to it. Very nice, very exquisite. I much prefer that to like a glossy wood. And then you have all these kind of chrome matte accents. They are matte, but they still do show fingerprints and dirt. Not as much as glossy chrome wood, but it is something to note. But there's not too much of it, all in all. You have nice metal buttons, metal handles, metal paddles. Everything's like nice to touch. All the touch points have been focused on. When you sit in the car, you realize it's very comfortable. These seats are fantastic. They're heated and cooled. This is a leatherette. If you opt for the Prestige trim, you get full actual leather. Steering wheel is heated. That is available by default with the all-wheel drive trim. The button quality and the knob quality, the dial quality, they're all very nice. the dials for your temperature control. You have kind of rolling knobs for volume and tune down here. It's very elegant and premium feeling. You have leather up on top of the dashboard, all soft touch, as well as the armrest, of course, on both the door and the center console. And even the kind of plastic that you see is still soft touch. You have the nice metal grates for the Lexicon premium sound system. And it is just, it's one of my favorite interiors. I don't know how I feel about the steering wheel design. I'm still on the fence about it. This big bit right here just rubs me the wrong way. But in general, it's also a nicely laid out steering wheel. One of the other first things you'll notice is the giant screen up on the dash. It's 14.5 inches and it just feels huge. It's actually not very tall, but it's very wide. And I love it. It's very high pixel density, very clear HD picture. The colors are good, it's vibrant, it's bright enough in most lighting conditions. And then you have part of the dash in front of the driver is digital. If you opt for the Prestige trim, you'll get a higher quality, fully digital, almost 3D gauge cluster. But in this, you have an analog gauge on the left, which shows your speedometer and fuel gauge. And then you have kind of a fake circular gauge on the right. You still have a real circular ring around it with the chrome, but inside of that is a circular display attached to a square display. It's kind of an interesting mix of materials and options in the gauge cluster, and it's okay. The screen is not truly black. It's not like an OLED screen, so you do notice what is actually physically black and what is the screen pretending to be black, which kind of annoys me a bit, but that's honestly not a huge deal. Something else very obvious to notice is this button system down here. It's an interesting dial slash touchpad slash rocker D-pad. Very strange, but kind of cool at the same time. The screen up here is far enough away to where it is hard to touch parts of it, or even all of it if you're back here driving. So they implemented this interesting little gauge dial thingy. I don't know what to call it. Scroll wheel, digital crown. It's kind of a copy on the Apple Watch in a way. And using it is fairly intuitive. It took me some getting used to, but after using it for a few minutes, I felt like I knew exactly what to do. It gives you multiple options to interact with the screen up here. Here we are in the back of the Genesis G80. It is actually very spacious and very comfortable. I am sitting behind myself and I have so much legroom, I don't know what to do with it. Headroom is maybe a couple inches, and again, I'm 6 foot even, so you got your nice little dome lights with really cool little like chiseled metal accents inside them, just like the dome lights in the front. Unlike the front, you do have the individual dome lights, which is pretty awesome. You have a much better view out of the panoramic sunroof. The front seats really can't see out of it at all because it starts above your head, actually like above the middle of your head and behind. And then you have this big bulky center console, which is probably, oh yeah, not comfortable to sit against. So I would say this is a nice 4-seat luxury midsize sedan. 5 seats if you hate whoever the 5th person is, because this middle seat is not comfortable. You can't just pull this down like many other cars. There's actually a switch inside the handle to then pull it down. And then you're greeted with some beautiful piano black, which is my least favorite thing in the world. Lots of fingerprints, and I haven't even touched it. When you open this, you have some cup holders. And here is where the heated seats are. 3-level heated seats for the back. That is nice. Although kind of unfortunate if you have to pull this down just to get to them. And then you have your automatic shade control for the rear shade, which just gives you a bit more darkness back here. It's actually very nice. Makes you feel very high class. Unless, of course, you want the side shades, which require manual operation, and they're not even the easiest thing to put up. That's about it for the back of the Genesis G80. Driving the Genesis G80 feels even more luxurious than, I would say, the interior. It's brilliant. I mean, I'm on a really kind of bumpy dirt road that's usually extremely noisy. I can't hear anything. Slightly exaggerating, but I could whisper to my passenger while driving this dirt road. It's fantastic. It's also a great test of the suspension, which I feel like is tuned very well. It doesn't feel rough or too stiff. It doesn't feel extremely soft and boaty. I feel some connection. Granted, this is not the car you would buy if you're looking for that perfect driver to road connection or even driver to car connection. It's very disconnected, but it almost takes the thought and worry of driving right out of it. So things like the 360 camera, the massaging seats, the heads-up display, those things are all missing from this car that would seem otherwise perfectly set up and luxurious. I personally think if you're going for affordable luxury, spring for just a bit more to get that actual full luxury. I feel like the Prestige version of this, especially with the V6 twin turbo and all-wheel drive, gets you into what you would assume to be a six-figure car for just under $70,000. Very impressive. So what did you think? I already know I love it. I think it is one of the best values out there as far as luxury sedans. You can actually find the G80 for as low as below $50,000, and that is the base configuration, but I still argue that is a great deal. I mean, that's approaching high-end Honda Accord territory. With the base model, I still think that's a pretty good deal. Even though it's a little less featured, it's still a wonderful car with an exceptional interior. I think if it were me, I would opt for the Prestige trim just because of the full 360 camera, the blind spot monitoring, the better gauge cluster in front of the driver, the slightly better seats. It's just a bit more in the luxury segment. I feel like if I want a luxury sedan, I may as well go that length, especially since I'm going for an affordable option. You could, of course, compare this to a Bentley for some reason, and some people do. They mistake it for a Bentley. And I think this is kind of safe to say an affordable version. It won't have quite the craftsmanship as some of those elite luxury sedans, but I think when maxed out, this is easily worth $100 grand, and you get it for much less. I would also like the 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 in mine, just because I like a little more power. But again, this is plenty of power for most people. The all-wheel drive is plenty capable, although the rear-wheel drive probably is too. I think it's basically a safe car, and it's a safe bet Genesis is hedging on to extend its brand. I'm excited to see like the GV70. We've seen the GV80 and we know we love it. So we'll see if they bring up their CUV lineup or SUV lineup to kind of match their triple sedan lineup with the G70, G80, and G90. That's a lot of sedans to keep track of, and perhaps they might minimize it at some point. But overall, I think this is one of my favorite cars I've driven this year. Has a great sound system, a phenomenal interior, one of my favorite interiors ever. And the styling is fine. It's a bit subdued. I think I like things that are a bit more eccentric, but I like the direction they're going, and I like the brand ethos they're developing. But let us know your thoughts. How do you feel about this sedan versus all the other ones out there with our luxury or non-luxury tags? This price point almost kind of fits the between actual luxury and actual affordable. So perhaps that is a market segment that is legitimate, but you tell us, would you buy one? We'll see you in the comments, and we'll see you on the next video.